What's up, guys? Dr. D here. We're going to take off on part 2 of this mix video for the Lonesome Fugitive country band mix. So let's get into it. Okay, so right where we left off, let's see here. It looks like we have the drums roughly mixed and balanced with panning going on as well as some leveling. So let's give a quick little listen to that and see where things are at. Okay, not too shabby. I was watching the signal on the drum some right about here, and this is a pretty healthy, it's okay, healthy signal. If I need more drums later on, I might throw a compressor on here and boost the drums a little bit. Another cool thing I can do with drums, since we're on the subject, is to use what's called parallel compression. And essentially what you do is you take a combination of the drum instrument tracks, like maybe the overheads or the room mic, or even kick and snare maybe, depending on the effect you're trying to get. But you create like another auxiliary input track, and then you put heavy compression on it. So I'm actually going to do that right now. I think that might be kind of a fun thing to do. So I'm going to create a new track. So file new or whatever, new track here, and this is going to be a stereo auxiliary input track, and I'm going to create that and place that right right before the drum sum. Now this is going to need to be routed to the drum sum, so this is going to be within the drum group, or the summation of the drum sounds. So I'm going to set the output of this track to be the drum bus. And then for the input, I'm going to create a new bus for this one, and I'm going to call this the parallel bus. So I'm going to choose the next available bus. I'm going to rename it parallel bus with 2 capital I's, and I'm going to feed into it through the sends. Okay, so yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take from the 3rd slot of the sends on the overheads and the room mic, I'm going to go ahead and use the parallel bus across the overheads and the room mic, like I was saying, but I'm going to do it in a group like this. Those are 3 selected, Option Shift, and I'm going to choose to grab the parallel bus. Now the reason I'm doing the 3rd line here is because I have reverbs that I'm going to use across the drum instruments. Basically I'm going to utilize my long verb and short verb and have those across the top sends placements up here. So I kind of know that's coming. So anyway, I'm doing that first. Okay, cool. So what I can do with this is expand the view of the faders, and this is on the sum, or on the sends here. So it's a command, click on the left side, and then it shows these faders where you can send the signal into the parallel bus, which is coming out of the parallel compression track. So anyway, this auxiliary input, I'm going to label it parallel comp. Okay, and then I need to put some sort of compressor on this track. So I'm going to go ahead and grab, since you guys are using Pro Tools Basic, I'm going to go with the Bomb Factory 76 plugin, and I'm going to go ahead and pull these faders up to about 0. Another way of doing that is to click on the Option key and then click on the fader, and it'll bring it up to unity gain. And that means 100% of the signal is being routed parallel into this track right here. So I need to solo safe it as well. So command click on the S to make it solo safe. And now I'm going to have a really very hard compression on this this track right here. So it's got signal coming through it. I'm going to go ahead and squash the shit out of this, and maybe do like a quicker attack. Alright, so just to get a flavor of what's going on here, this is the drum set without parallel compression. And this is with it. Now sometimes, especially when the track has a lot of cymbal noise on it, if that's a section of the song here, see if we have any cymbal crashes or anything. Yeah, so there's not a lot of cymbal action here, but as you can hear when I pull up that parallel compression track, it kind of just like opens up the room. So if I want more of a roomy sound, or like the wall of sound cymbal stuff that's crashing through, parallel compression can bring in that ambiance. You can also automate this up as the track is playing. If you want more intensity on certain sections of the song, you can kind of automate this to kind of kick up during certain parts of the song, and it kind of sounds like the drummer's getting excited and the room gets bigger or whatever. So this is kind of another little tool that I will use in mixing, kind of just to bring some presence and room ambiance to that drum set and beef it up a bit. So all right, cool. So let's move on to the bass here. With the bass track, let's listen to it first. Okay, so that's the raw bass. Depending on your aesthetic for bass, if you want like a warm, thumpy bass or a bright bass with some attack, you can duplicate this track. I'm going to go ahead and do that because I said I was going to do it earlier. Right-click on the track name and choose duplicate. And now I have a bass duplicate track. And sometimes what I'll do, if I want brighter elements, I'll grab an EQ and I will kind of focus on some of the brighter aspects of this bass and bring out some of the attack. So I've turned down the fader on the regular bass. This is the bass duplicate track. I'm going to call this bass high, just so I know that it's kind of focused on the high frequencies. I'm going to go ahead and throw some filters on this, maybe carve out some of the stuff that's below, everything below the 500 hertz. Okay. So no low end of this bass. This is all just the brighter side. I'm gonna throw on a compressor and maybe some distortion after that. So let's hear distortion is going to be, I think, under harmonic. So I'm grabbing the Sans amp. That's usually what I'm going for here. There it is. Some sort of distortion plug-in. See if I can get some. Oh. There we go. Got some of that buzzy, rattly kind of brightness as well. Some little bit of compression here. Let's see. There we go. Now that my compression is up, I need to turn down my levels on this. And maybe I put the compressor after the distortion plugin or before it. I don't know, I kind of like it before. Okay, sweet. So not that I want the bass to sound like that, but my low bass, my regular bass track, it's got a nice warm sound. I'm going to actually warm it up a little bit more. Now, bass tone is totally subjective, so you can choose to have dark or warm or bright or whatever kind of bass you want, but I'm showing you some tools here to help you kind of get whatever bass you're happy with. So there we go. So this is, if you're going for that sort of like, Motown, super warm, kind of P bass kind of thing, you've got some of this, and I'll throw a compressor on it. I just rolled off the highs, throw a comp on it, Bomb Factory 76, get some action going on here. If I don't want much of attack, I'll have a quick attack there, kind of a quicker release. Okay, cool. So anyway, what I'm going for is I have all the different tones of bass that I would ever want. I have super warm bass, or if I want some attack in there, I have that attack. get too much of that distortion, but sometimes that helps the mix, the bass kind of pop out of the mix a little bit if the bass is. Yeah, give the bass a little bit of attack there. So those are some options for bass. You can mix these two together however you see fit, high and low. But yeah, that's one thing you can do with bass to kind of shape it to get whatever sounds you want. So there's a bass, and then there is a bass sum. So another thing I might do is compress the bass sum. Sometimes you can use limiters too. So I might try a limiter and see what that does. But a limiter on your bass can basically get your bass to be more of kind of like a wall of sound, kind of rather than a boom, boom, kind of like a decaying sound. You can get more of like a sustained, like long note out of the bass too if you compress it. So let's find the bass here, get both of these fired up. Go away, Siri. Turn off that click track. So you hear how the bass is kind of just like a wall. So it's making the bass super sustained and huge. So whether you like that tone or not, those are things that you can do sometimes. Or you can leave it natural, and it might sound fine natural as well. But those are kind of some ideas for shaping the bass and getting it to be super compressed and super fat, warm or bright, and whatever you want out of it. You just kind of have those things to tweak up and dial in the tone however you want. Okay, cool. So moving into the acoustic guitars, we have 4 acoustic guitars. A lot of times what I will do with these acoustic guitars is acoustic guitars don't have much of a tonal quality in the mid-range that, you know, sometimes it depends. Sometimes I'll scoop a lot of the lows out of acoustic guitars. So let's listen to these real quick. So sometimes what I'll do here on acoustic guitars is I will filter out the lows. Well, let's see that. Let's try some of that. So EQ 8. I'm going on the acoustic guitar sum here, and I'm looking for the EQ 8. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking for the EQ 7 band. That's Ableton. All right, cool. So I got this up. And I'll kind of get that low frequency stuff out of the way. So that's like things basically below 250-ish right here. I've kind of taken off. So there's like all these bass qualities to the guitar that really don't bring anything to the party. So I kind of just get those out of the way. Maybe some of the mids too, low mids. Okay, now as I put this back into the mix, you'll start to hear a little bit more of how the guitars now are sparkly. Acoustic guitars are kind of out on the edges with this panned part. Down every road is solid. Okay, cool. So you hear the sparkliness of the guitars, but they don't get in the way of all the mid-range kind of stuff. So yeah, the bass can shine, the electric guitar can shine, the voice can shine in those areas, and the acoustic guitars can kind of sprinkle out in stereo on the edge. Okay, so at this point, I still haven't flown in the additional guitar tracks, so I need to do that. Let me just go ahead and find those for you guys right here. Okay, guys, so we're back. I flew in the acoustic guitar tracks that we were missing. There was the acoustic guitar Kiwi 01 and the acoustic guitar Octava 01. I found those in D2L and dragged and dropped these into the acoustic guitar high right and acoustic guitar low right. Okay, so and actually I kind of goofed this up. Here we go. Okay, so make sure that the acoustic guitar high is the Octava and the acoustic guitar low is the Kiwi, because the large diaphragm condenser mic is the Kiwi, and that was on the sound hole, while the Octava was on the 12th fret, which is going to give you some higher sounds. So after we fly that stuff in here, I have to sync these up and align them a little bit better than they are. What I'm going to do is zoom way in here and find the waveforms and try to get these bad boys to match up the best I can. So zooming way in here, looking at these transients, trying to figure out where these things line up, make sure things are going positive at the same time. Looks like the initial sound starts right about there. Let's see here. You zoom in, zoom out, make sure it looks symmetrical. Okay, looking pretty good. Anyway, the idea is we're trying to get a chorusing sound between the stereo speakers. Maybe that's a little bit better. Here we go. Yeah, I can find these little transients. If you guys see these little short thingies right here, I can kind of correct those too and bring these into like perfect alignment. Now they're not going to be totally perfect because they're two different takes, but I want to get them pretty close so that there's no weird phasing or anything going on like that. And yeah, more or less it looks like it's going to work for us pretty well. Okay, cool. So yep, got these suckers lined up. All is good. Going back into the mix window here, what I'm going to do with my acoustic guitars, first of all, I have the left and the right side. You can see the two yellows here. And I'm going to kind of listen to these and pan these apart, and I'm going for like a super wide stereo sound here. That's why I have these panned, and that's why I recorded these twice. I might do the higher acoustic guitars to be a little bit further to the outside of the speaker. I feel like I like how it carries kind of like out like that. Okay, nice. So over on my acoustic guitar Some, I've got a EQ going on that's filtering off some of the low frequencies. A lot of times they don't like the mid or low frequencies of an acoustic guitar. They just kind of interfere with some of the other aspects, so I've kind of carved those out. Maybe I'll lighten up a bit and then see how things balance with the rest of the instruments. But I'm also going to throw a compressor on here too. So let's do our Bomb Factory 776. Get a little bit of sweetness going here. Just light compression. Just want it kind of moving around a little bit here. Attack, release, I'm kind of seeing if there's any difference. I feel like the release is the only thing that's really affecting things. I want the needle to be kicking back in between the strums. And I want to kind of boost the outputs a little bit, warm it up. Make sure the left and right are balanced with each other. It sounds pretty balanced. Now I'm going to kind of throw it back in the mix with the rest of the band. Okay, that seems to be working for me. It sounds nice and warm. It's not conflicting too much with anything else because there's no piano or other rhythmic guitar stuff going on other than that electric, and it sounds so different. So yeah, I've got my bass tuned in. I got the acoustic guitars, rhythm tracks going here. I'm gonna place my. Well, no, I'm gonna leave my acoustic guitar some right there. I'm tripping. I do want to put my drum some back over here by my bass some, and I'll mess with that stuff a little bit later. But let's go on to the electric guitar and see what we got going on here. Okay, so electric guitar. Okay, probably compress it. EQ wise, maybe I'll throw an EQ on there just in case I need it later, but I'm not going to do much to it right now. A lot of times guitar tone from an amp, an electric guitar player's tone, is kind of like a very personal thing. Unless it's not working for you in the mix for some severe reason, you don't need to do a lot of EQing with an electric guitar usually. Sometimes moving some of the low end out if it's conflicting with other instruments, but I usually don't do a whole lot. I might compress it, I might add some more reverb if it's a dry signal coming from the amp, but it seems like it's got some amp tone, and you know, kind of like let the guitar player choose his tone from the amplifier settings, and hopefully you recorded it with a nice mic and things sound good. Anyway, so let's do a little compression here. I'm gonna turn up my input until I start seeing some attenuation. Nice. Maybe a quicker attack. We got that crackly stuff going on. That's our preamps. We're having some weird gremlins in the preamps there, causing some clicky sounds. So never mind that. There's not much we can do about that if it happens all the time. Okay, that seems to be working pretty good. Okay, cool. Let's throw it in with the rest of the band. Yeah, I feel like it could use some verb too, but we haven't set up verb yet. We'll save verb for a little bit later. Let's go on to the vocals. And so vocals, we're definitely going to be doing some work here. All right, so once again, you know, the standard tools for any audio track and messing with the sound, we're going to pull up the EQ. And let's start by listening to the soloed. Listen to the voice soloed.
I'd like to settle down, but they won't let me. A fugitive must be a rolling stone.
Okay, not bad, not bad.
Down every road, there's always one more city. On the run, the highway is my home.
Okay, so depending on the sound we want to get out of that voice, you might want to warm it up. You might want to take out some of the mid-range. Depends on what your preference is. Just listening to it now.
Now I raise a lot of cane back in my.
I'm gonna fish around for some frequencies and see what I can, what I like and what I don't like. So I'm gonna get a pretty narrow Q on one of my notch filters here. I'm just gonna fish around here and see what's going on and what I like, what I don't like.
Used to pray my crops would fail. Now I'm a hunted fugitive with just two ways. I run the law or spend my life in jail, yeah.
Okay, so I feel like the 500 hertz, I could live a little bit without that. Let's see what's going on around here in the lower frequency range.
I'd like to settle down, but they won't let me. Oh, a fugitive must be Rolling Stone.
Maybe a little bit of this low stuff coming, warming up a bit. So I'm going to compensate I'm just going to bring this, that looks like about 200 or something. What am I at here? Yeah, about 200 hertz. I'm going to roll off the stuff down low. Not that extreme, but I think I'm going to roll some stuff off below about 100.
Down every road, there's always one more city.
And I'm going to try to brighten up some of the articulation and syllabants, syllabants around 4K.
I'm on the run, the highway is my home.
There we go.
Guitar.
Okay. So, we'll see how that works. But it's a good start.
I'm on the run, the highway is my home.
Okay, cool. So let's do some compression now on that voice. So make sure this is all set still. Okay, good. We're going to go with the Bomb Factory compressor once again. The standard, decent compressor in Pro Tools.
Now I
Okay, let's get a little loop here going so we have something to work with.
I'd like to settle down, but they won't let me. A fugitive must be a rolling stone. Down every road, there's always one more city.
So you guys hear those little pops? I'm definitely hearing this, and this has been an ongoing issue. So let me just show you what you can do. This is something that might happen every now and then, and we're not going to be able to do it on every single crack and pop, but there are a few that come in here and kind of bum me out, but I want to show you a little method here.
Down every road, there's always...
So right there, you hear that pop. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to zoom way in and find out where that is. I'm going to use the scrubbing tool, this little microphone right here. So it's right about there. Getting way in there, and I can see, as I zoom in, this little thing right here. That is the gremlin I'm talking about. Now, what I usually do when this happens is I go here at just before you can see the same waveform shape, just about, right about there, right here as well. I'm going to take a chunk of this from the zero crossing through the cycle of the wave and the zero crossing again. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go over here, put my cursor at the zero crossing, paste, and then I'm going to do super micro crossfades. And what that does is that replaces the same exact waveform, and that tiny little crack, pop, whatever that shit is gone.
There's always...
So unfortunately, you'd have to do that probably 40, 50 times. So the preamps are very touchy, and if you have them a little too hot, they peak like that, and that's kind of specific to our system. But if you hear things like that, that's how you would zoom in. That's how you would use the scrubbing tool to get close in there, find where that little imperfection, that little pop is, and you can copy little sections of the waveform in a micro way to clear that stuff out. So yeah, if this was like a legit recording and I had the time to put all that effort into it, I would probably go through this and pull out every single pop and crack that I heard, because it's on me to catch that as the engineer. Okay, cool. So vocals mixed in with the rest of the band. Let's see how everything's kind of balanced, roughly.
I'd like to settle down, but they won't let me.
All right, cool. I might want a little bit of brightness out of the guitar. I kind of want to boost a little bit of... How about things above 4K?
A fugitive must be rolling stone. Down every road, there's always...
Maybe a little bit of hot, a
city.
little bit more heat on that guitar, a little bit of more output on that compressor. Now, when I do volume stuff, a lot of times I try to do it with compression rather than turning the fader up. The faders are at unity, and I kind of leave them alone. And I don't like to automate faders either, because I want to be able to pull things up and down. And I do want to use these faders over here to mix with. The some tracks. You know, like all the drums are right here, all the bass is right there, acoustic guitars, and then my voice and electric guitar are right here as well. I can basically mix the entire band with these 6 faders or so. Okay, so now we're on to getting our effects going. Okay, so we got long verb, we got short verb. Let's hunt for some long and short verb. So going into our reverb category, I think everybody is going to have the air reverb or the deverb. So I'm going to use deverb. Not my favorite, of course, but it's what everyone has. All right, cool. So we're looking for a longer, warmer verb here. So I have a large hall set, and what I'm going to do just to kind of get an idea of the sound of this is, well, first of all, I have no sends or buses yet set up for my reverb return tracks. Notice that? No input, no input, no input. So what I got to do here is create new buses to input across all of these, or at least the verbs. So what I'm going to do first is look for the next available bus. I got 15 and 16. This is the long verb, so I'm going to rename this one long bus. Okay, and then I have a short bus here. Get it? Short bus. All right, and then I've got this delay here, so I'm going to go with boom. Okay, and then rename that delay bus. Okay, so this stuff is going to be routed into these return tracks via sends, so I can control how much of the signal is going in there. So the quickest way to do this is to select every single track, not the click track, but kick all the way through drum, all the sums. So kick all the way through the acoustic guitar sum. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to hold down Option Shift, and I'm going to go to the first sends category, and I'm going to choose the long bus. Okay, you notice every single track now, don't need that, but every single track now has a send category, send slot filled with the long bus all the way across. I'm going to do the same thing, hold down Option Shift, go to the next one. I'm going to choose the short bus. Boom. Okay, cool. So I might have some delay. I might want to use some delay on stuff here and there. Probably just the electric guitar and the voice, more or less. I don't want to have echoey stuff happening anywhere else. So on my electric guitar, I'm going to put a delay bus on one of the sends, and then on the vocal, I'm going to do a delay bus as well. Okay. So, like I was saying, I'm going to use kind of like the vocal as a way to test this out. So I'm holding down Command and I'm clicking on the left side of the sends, and that's going to expose the fader view, so I can route basically signal into the long bus from whatever track I want. So for instance, I have deverb set here. I'm going to solo my vocal track and turn up the long verb.
I'm on the run, the highway is my home.
Okay, cool. So we got some long verb going on in there. Fine for right now. I'll tweak it later. But let's go on to the short verb. I'm going to pull in the same plugin, deverb, and I'm going to go with something a little bit brighter and smaller. So I'm going to go with like a, I don't know, I'm going to small plate. Let's see what that sounds like. And I'm going to turn down the long bus so I'm not confusing it, but on the vocal track, I'm going to turn up the short bus here and listen to that.
Now I raised a lot of cane back in my younger days.
Okay, so cool. I like it. I want less low frequencies in it, maybe. So one thing I might do, I have pre-delay, which is basically the time it takes the initial response of the reverb to kick in. Set 0, but maybe I want to kind of see if I can get it to be rhythmic.
While Mama used to pray my crops would fail, now I'm a hunted fugitive.
Okay, and then I have a high frequency cut, which looks like it's supposed to warm things up. I have a low pass filter too. Oh, so let's see. low pass filter, high frequency cut. How about a high pass filter?
With just two ways, I run the law, spend my life.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, that doesn't seem to do much for me.
In jail, yeah.
Okay. Whatever. That's kind of a brighter verb. And then I'm going to go over here to my delay and throw in a delay. So that's going to be under the delay category. What's the one we usually have? Probably mod delay is the basic one. Yep, there it is. Now I'm going to crank that up here. I might mess with that pre-delay time a little bit later, but I'm going to get some delay going for now and see what that sounds like.
I'd like to settle down.
Maybe I want to go with some sort of slapback, kind of vintage sounding delay. Another thing you can do is go through these presets. So this is preset category factory default, and there's lots of different, effect presets here you can choose from. So I'm looking for something, some sort of tap, slap back, metal slap, long echo, midnight clock. I don't even know. Little springy. Sure. Let's slap back. Let's try a slap back delay and see what that sounds like.
But they won't let me.
Okay.
Oh, a fugitive must be.
Oh, yeah, kind of like that. That's not bad. Let's see what I got for settings here. Tempo, meter, feedback, maybe a little
Rolling
bit.
Stone.
Get a little bit more. This is delay. Yeah, I don't want much feedback. I want
down every road. There's
so I'm going for that really quick slap back, dying away type of situation here. Okay, so let's doctor up the voice a little bit. So we got the long, the short, and the delay.
It's always one more city.
Get some.
I'm on the run, the highway is my home. Guitar.
All right, so that seems to be pretty cool. Now you mix this to taste.
I'm on the run, the highway is my home.
Okay, cool. All right, that seems to be working for me. All right, so, you go through and you massage all this stuff, and another thing you probably need to do is use a reference track. So I'm going to fly in real quick here a reference track of some country. So I'm going to go with, probably not Merle Haggard, but I'm going to try some Sturgill Simpson. And let's see here. Maybe this was probably a pretty good one to reference. So I'm going to pull in an audio track here. I'm going to create another track down at the bottom of my mix after the vocal track. Or maybe way down here before my master. I'm going to create a new track. It's going to be a stereo audio track, just one of them. And I'm going to drop in my Sturgill Simpson reference track. Okay, now we're back. Okay, so I ripped some audio from the internet, and I've got Sturgill Simpson Long White Line, a nice reference track. And I'm going to listen to it for a second and just see what I'm hearing as far as the mix, and then I'm going to start mixing to this as I rebuild my session here and start mixing levels. So I've got guitars panned hard left, the electric lead guitar, there's probably acoustics blended everywhere else. Voice is dead center. Kick snares dead center. Guitar goes to stereo harmony on the solo. Okay, so cool stuff going on with this track, the way it's mixed. Sturgill Simpson is pretty progressive as far as country music goes, experimental, if you will. But anywho, now I'm listening to us. Okay, so not as loud. For sure. Okay, so let's start over from scratch here. Let's tear down everything. I'm gonna leave the voice up, and I'm gonna turn everything else down as far as instruments. So electric guitar, bass, acoustic guitar. Leave the verbs up. Drum some, or maybe you get the verbs down. Yep, I'm gonna leave Vox and drums up. Turn down my reference tracks audio, so I'm kind of in the ballpark as far as volume goes.
A lot of cane back in my younger days.
It's a very warm voice on his too.
Pray my crops would fail.
Okay, I feel like the drums are, I don't know, not popping for me isn't enough as I'd like. So I'm gonna tear that voice down, go back into the drums here. Okay, I need more bite out of that snare, big time. So my snare some, looking at my compressor here. Bring that compressor output way up. Get that going a little bit. So a little bit slower of an attack. Slower is left, going to the left side. Lower numbers, faster release and attack is going to the right there. Okay, a little bit of more bite there. Another thing I can do to get more bite out of my snare is my snare bottom. Bring that up a little bit. If I need even more bite on my snare bottom, I could throw a distortion on that snare bottom. Get some crunch and drive and bite out of it. A little exaggerated, but mix it in. I've got a lot more bite coming out of that. Okay, cool. All right. Probably going to need some verb on that. Let me get my verb sends back up. Since we're in that area, I might as well mix my reverb on my snares. Go some long verb. And I might just do this on the snare sum track to make it a little bit easier. So I'm kind of letting my long verb do a lot of work. You know, I want the reverb to kind of last between the snare hits. Not really a fan of that short bus or that short verbs. Pre-delay, I'm going to wipe that out, back to 0. There we go. Okay. I feel like my kick is weak too. Go over here to the output of the compressor on the kick sum. Get some more. There we go. Now I'm feeling that bass a little bit. Get some more of that low end of that bass in there. Ooh, that's actually not bad too. So I'm juicing the kick. Okay. I'm also going to put a compressor on that kick or the snare top. I want more. I just need more. Okay, that's hot now. I might try bypassing this for a second. There we go. Now I've got some pretty heavy stuff going on there. Okay, cool. Drums are way bigger than they were. Looking at my drum output over here, my drums are almost too hot. Yeah, so I really kind of juiced the drums a little bit too much maybe. Let me look at my drum sum. Got a pretty hot signal, but let's see what it stands out like with the voice up to unity.
I'd like to settle down, but they won't let me.
There we go, okay.
Oh, a fugitive must be Rolling Stone. Down every road there's always...
Okay, so my overheads are just weak. Weak as all hell. So we're gonna need some dynamics. Go ahead and throw on the BF76 on one of them. There we go. Now we got some signal, a little bit of light compression, and bringing my levels up here a little bit higher. Okay, so that seems to be pretty happy. I'm really just doing this for gain, not trying to shape the sounds at all, but okay. I also am noticing a lot of kick drum coming into those overheads. I'm going to address that with some high pass filter. Remove some of that. Just going for roomy cymbal sounds here. Okay, so that should work. I'm going to copy that plugin over. So I have on my overheads, I'm rocking a high pass filter around about 260, 250-ish, and then I've got my compression on here, decent amount of compression. Now my drums sound a little bit more alive. I might need to back off on some of these other things like my kick some. Kick might be a little too hot, snare might be a little too hot. Maybe it's the compressors before here on each thing. Maybe it's the sums, but I do need to monitor that and not peak anywhere. Looks like I got peaking going on here pretty severely on that snare drum. That's just a little too much.
Slow me down and they'd catch up with me.
There we go. Now we're kicking around on the snare drum about -2 and 3. So that is the snare track I was just messing with.
For he who travels fast,
got to keep an eye on my compressors. It's a gain stage everywhere. So now
I'd like to settle down, but they won't let me.
There we go. And then there's my parallel compressor track, as well as my room track that I can kind of get the drums to sound a little bit more realistic. So that's kind of what I've been doing here. I kind of needed to beef up some of these sounds and get the drums to sound a little bit bigger because they were super low. And now the voice is matched pretty good with the drum. Maybe a little bit too much. Okay, now let's bring in some bass.
Down every road, there's always one more city.
Okay, how about some acoustic guitars?
I'm on the run, the highway is my home.
A little bit less of the low frequencies on the guitars. Then there's that electric guitar. Yeah, we're gonna cut that out for sure.
Now I'm a hunted fugitive with just 2 ways.
Okay, I'm gonna bring that guitar to the left.
I run the law or spend my life in jail, yeah.
How about some verb and delay on that guitar now? And I'm gonna put the verb and delay going to the right side of the speaker because it's panned to the left. I want to send some of the signal over the right speaker so it's not just coming out of one side. It kind of swooshes across the screen, across the spectrum from the left speaker to the right speaker on me.
There's always one more city. I'm on the run, the highway is my home. Guitar.
Okay, cool. So another thing I might do here on that guitar is automate the panning because the guitar is solo guitar during the solo. This electric guitar is panned. If I go and I show this is the track view tab right here, basically track view selector, and I can choose whatever it shows: waveform, volume, panning automation. I'm showing panning automation now. So over the guitar solo, I want the guitar to be center since it's soloing. So right here, I'm gonna start bringing it in to the center at that point. So if I select across that area, put my cursor at the top as this little bracket, and I can bring that sucker down to about 0. There we go, it's close enough. And then I can kind of have this fade across that lick. Now it's in the dead center, and it's going to slowly kind of work its way out back to where it was.
Well, I'm lonely, but I can't afford the luxury of having one I love to come along.
Okay, so another thing I need to fix in here is all the bass mistakes. There are bass mistakes all over the place. So I'd have to listen to this and fix some of these bass mistakes. Let's see if I can find one or two of them.
A lot of came back to settle down, but they won't let me.
Alright, so the bass kind of goes to this faster double time walking thing on the first part of the solo. Not a big fan of that. I kind of bailed out of that, so I'm going to find the bass tracks here. Where are the bass tracks? There's the bass tracks, and there's a bass group, so hopefully when I select bass with the group selected, when I select across the bass tracks, it does the whole entire thing. And if I'm in grid mode, I can find the second half of the guitar solo and roundabouts grab that part. So I'm going to probably go for the first 8, or the first 2 measures there, copy that over here, paste that. Okay, extend that a little bit further. Okay, cool. So the thing is, once I've placed this and I'm using the grid mode, it's gonna not look and sound good because you see how I'm restricted as far as in the grid goes. So I'm gonna turn on slip mode, zoom in a little bit closer here. I'm gonna come out of just a bit, put a little tiny crossfade there, find the back end of it. Oh, that was the back end of it. There's the front end of it, and there's my... Okay, now another thing I'm noticing is I'm late. Get back there. Okay, so I've got some late hits. You can see the grid lines, you can see where the notes are. Drummer's a little behind too, so it's his fault. But put incisions there, and I'm going to select this and bring this up a little bit. Then this one right here, same deal. I'm going to kind of select that area, delete that, scoochy boochy is this up here a little bit, and little fades here so no one hears the fact that this is polishing the turd. And you might do this all over the place. Every time you find the bass behind or off or hitting the wrong note, you're going to want to fix this stuff. It's not that hard. Good practice. Boom, now it's perfect. And that's why bass players shouldn't be allowed to take 3 or 4 different takes at their song. They should just play it once and get it about 80% and then go back and clean up the mistakes later. It's super easy with bass. Okay, so after you clean up the bass, check your reference tracks again. Let's get some verb sounds going on. And compare it to Sturgill. So I'm listening to the bass, I'm listening to the drums, kind of comparing.
Down every road, there's always one more. I don't care where I go, gonna push that red. On the highway is my home.
Drums might be a little bright, maybe a little bright. Altogether, that hi-hat's really clicky. So one thing I can do is address that in the drum sum. Go ahead and grab an EQ and do some subtle tapping down of the higher frequencies. Warm this up a bit. Probably use the shelf here.
Now I raise a lot of cane back in my younger days.
There we go. Notice the signals are peaking here, so I've got really, really hot drums. I'm going to bring this drum sum down a little bit more. Maybe even take the output and input down a touch. I don't want to be hitting red there.
Now I'm a hunted fugitive with just two ways. I run the law or spend my life in jail.
Okay, let's go back to Sturgill. Okay, cool. Now we're in the ballpark. All right, so now on to mastering. Okay, so what we're going to do first is we got a pretty good balance of frequencies here, I'm feeling. But on my submix is where I'm going to put my quickie mastering chain. So first of all, EQ, if I need some EQ correction, I've got EQ on this. And I'm going to limit this. This is under the dynamics category. I'm going to grab the limiter, which is what everyone has in the basic Pro Tools, is going to be Maxim. All right, cool. My favorite limiter. Just kidding. So I'm going to use this to bring my levels up. And then I'm going to check my EQs and all that stuff. So what I need to do is I need to bring the Sturgill reference track up to unity. So now we're playing fair, 100%. And I've got my submix, which is the last mix sum track. You know, it's the last track that's accepting all the signals of my mix and then going to the master fader, while this track is going straight into the master fader separately. So the reason I'm not putting my effects and doing my mastering on the master fader, and the reason I created the submix track, is so I can master here, compare it to the reference track, and then compare also frequency makeup here. So if I have like some sort of plug-in that shows me sound field stuff, like a frequency analyzer, I think this is S1 Imager. No, that's the stereo thing. I'm going to use some sort of sound field thing that shows me frequency makeup. So when I solo the Sturgill song, it's going to show me a visual kind of representation of that roundabout stereo spread from left to right, as well as the balance of all the frequencies. Okay, so we've got that going on. That's kind of the level at which that track was, and I'm going to throw mine up there. Don't have the width at all, and I don't have, well, it's not bad. Volume wise, it's not quite there, so I'm not as wide, that's for sure. So width wise, what I can do is I can use things such as that stereo imager, which you guys don't have, unfortunately, but I do. I can make the width of the track much wider and hopefully start to sprinkle out a little bit out of the speaker sides there. There we go. Now we're a little bit wider. So that's a nice one to have on the S1 Imager. And it's also nice to have some sort of frequency monitor. So I'm in the ballpark frequency-wise. I'm not too far off. I can reset these looks here, wherever the clear is. There's some kind of clear button somewhere, I thought, but yeah. Reset, reset, reset. Where are you? Clear menu. Here we go.
Well, I'm lonely, but I can't afford the luxury of having.
Okay, and then here's Sturgill. It's much louder, so that's what we need to do first. Let's get this loudness going on, okay? So I'm going to, I realize that the Sturgill Simpson song is peaking, literally peaking the whole time almost. So I need to juice this sucker up quite a bit. So
They'd catch up with me.
Bring down my threshold a bit.
For he who travels fastest goes alone.
I'm gonna turn off. Make sure dither isn't on. I'm not gonna use any dither.
I'd like to settle down, but they won't let me.
So that's a little bit too much. I don't like to go crazy with this threshold. It's making it louder.
A fugitive must.
But I'm going to do this in a very subtle manner. I'm going to do 3 dB of threshold increase. And then I'm going to duplicate this plugin, holding down Command and dragging it. Oops. Holding down Option and dragging it down. I'm duplicating that plugin. Now I have the same plugin stacked.
Rolling Stone.
Now we're starting to get some attenuation. You can start to see our signal is getting closer. Signal is getting closer to unity. And I don't want to go above 2 to 3 dB of attenuation. I want to be very light with this. So I'm going to do one more of these and see where I'm sitting on the third one.
There's always one more city.
So I got to bring that one down.
I'm on the run, the highway is my home.
And then I can see if I'm in the ballpark with Sturgill. Go to the beginning of the song here.
I don't care where I go. On the run, the highway is my home. I want to know what's the name of this so-and-so. Tell 'em I'm somewhere lonely.
Okay, clear the menu. Here's me, my mix.
While Mama used to pray my crops would fail. Now I'm a hunted fugitive with just to wait.
Okay, cool. So I'm about happy with that. Not too bad for a quick amateur mix master session here. Cool. All right. Well, that kind of concludes this video and the mixing session for this song. Hopefully that is helpful and get you guys kind of on the ballpark of a decent mix. Hi. So yeah, we'll compare mixes and can't wait to hear what you guys did with this. Hopefully it sounds killing. I'm going to put the reference track that I was mixing with in the D2L Dropbox so that you guys have access to that and you can mix to the same reference track that I was using. So reference tracks are awesome because it gives you some context and holds you accountable for what your stuff is sounding like. You know, if you're in the ballpark of Sturgill Simpson with the country record, you're in a good place, or any other really big country artist that's making music right now. Dynamics, frequency makeup, instrument sounds, effects, reverbs, how all that stuff's kind of springing around. You want to be in the ballpark of commercial recording in the same genre. And then you know you're doing a decent job. And then you can be creative from there. But anyway, cool. We'll see you guys later. Peace out.